Peace and blessings, sister. So, our health has been in a state of emergency for a long time since we were brought here to be slaves by our open enemy. When we were brought here to be slaves, we were introduced to the worst of foods that our ancestors stayed away from. We knew were bad for our health and were 100% toxic. But of course, we had no control over that. We had to make do with what we had during slavery. But today we certainly have a choice to choose the divine foods that God told us that we can eat, and stay away from the foods that God has forbidden for us to eat. And one of those foods, the main food that I'm speaking of today, is pork, aka swine, the hog, ham, bacon, sausage, chitlins, ham hock, hog maw, hog jaw, all of it, any parts of it. None of it is good. It's 100% poison. And so for us to say the grace over this food or ask God's blessing on it, He's already told you that He is not giving His blessing on this animal. He says it in Leviticus, and I'm just going to read very briefly what God says, because for whatever reason, in particular, Christians like to overlook these verses, because we have become slaves to our diet, and we, glamorize this as soul food when it's really poison. So God says in Leviticus 11th chapter, and even the title of this chapter in the Bible that I'm reading says it's titled Foods Permitted and Forbidden. So God says in Leviticus 11th chapter 7 through the 8th verses, and the swine, though it divides the hoof, having cloven hooves, yet does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch. They are unclean to you. So God emphasizes that they are unclean, even for us to touch. So if something is unclean and not fitting for us to touch, it's certainly not going to be fitting and good for us to consume, for us to ingest in our body. Our body is the first temple, not the church, not the mosque, not the, wherever our place of worship is. Our body is the first temple, and we have to keep this body clean. Cleanliness is godliness, and nothing about the pork, the swine, is clean. It's a filthy, very gluttonous, dirty, foul animal. Back in the day, during European times in Europe, before they had sanitation systems to clean out their trash and waste, they would throw their trash and waste out into the streets, and so they would use release the pig out in the streets to eat the trash as a means to get rid of the waste and their trash, because a pig will eat anything. It will literally eat anything, and so much so to the point where it will eat and eat and eat until it can't eat anymore, or it throws it up and then it regurgitates what it just ate. It eats its vomit. So in essence, we're eating trash, we're eating illness, we're eating disease, we're eating sickness, we're eating parasites, because a pig cannot sweat. It doesn't have the ability to sweat like maybe other animals, and certainly not us as human beings. So not only is the pig itself toxic, but even the toxins that it ingests in its body is trapped. It's all contained. So you're eating toxins on top of toxins, parasites, and the trichinosis, the worm that is found in the pig. It causes all kinds of damage to our bodies. And no matter how well we think we're cooking our food or we're cleaning it, it doesn't get rid of the filth and the toxin, the poison that is, in essence, the animal itself. And so, as a result, God told us before the medical community, the science community, whatever, that this animal is bad for our health. And, we see the role it plays in cancer, in hypertension, high blood pressure, obesity, and neurological conditions, in the gout, in infection, in the aging. Pork causes us to age prematurely. It causes us to age much quicker than we're supposed to. It takes away from our beauty. It damages our skin. And so it's really nothing beneficial about this quote unquote food. I hate to call it a food because food is supposed to be something that's supposed to keep us here, keep us well and thriving and living our best life. And nothing about the pig does that for us. It takes away life. It doesn't keep us healthy. And, a lot of people will say, well, my grandmother, my grandfather, my mom, and all these people, they ate pork all their life and it didn't bother them. Well, I'm going to ask you the question: what was the quality of their life that they had when they were here? Were they suffering with different kind of illnesses and sickness? What did they die from? Did they die from stroke, heart attack? And 80 years, if they live 80 whatever years, that's certainly not a long time. And we think it's a long time, but our ancestors lived much longer than that. And even throughout the Bible, people live much longer than that because they ate according to the divine dietary law. And we need to get back to that. We need to get back to God's way of eating, the way of our ancestors, so that we can flourish, we can thrive, and we can be healthy and enjoy this life and be around for our children, our grandchildren, and do the things that God has called us to do without, being fatigued, being plagued with disease, and not operating in the best of our health as much as we can help it, right? So, yeah, I wanted to share that bit of information with you because it's very important. Like I said, I think we glamorize obesity and body positivity because we lack accountability. We don't want to discipline ourselves and our stomachs, our appetites, and reverse the so-called diseases that we say run in our family, when really we can reverse those things. They don't run in our family. Bad eating habits run in our family. These are all lifestyle, not all, but mostly lifestyle issues, diseases that we're dealing with. And we have the power. God has given us the power. He's given us his word. He's told us what to stay away from. And we just need to get back to that, be more disciplined. Go about your day. I pray that you are blessed and you're well. And until next time, peace.